So 8.5% is now going to be the base level of growth. And to that, I would add that 20-25% that will come from digital India. All its avatars as it well, everything, not just digital finance, but the entire digital spectrum. And if you add that 20-25% to 8.5%, you are well into double digits. Now you are well into double digits, the Viksit Bharat dream comes true, because you are compounding every 7 years then in terms of your GDP. So 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16 in 2 turns, just 2 turns. And you are then into a different orbit, as it were. So I'm extremely bullish that what we have seen so far is not a flash in the pan. A lot of steps have been taken. Industries have become much more efficient, much more productive. And now they have the full support of the government. Interest rates have been kept, I would say, at a very nominal level or attractive level. And you have got a growth runway. Because there is so much to be built in India that the 25-year runway, which was first, again, in a way, identified and articulated by the Honorable Prime Minister, appears absolutely something that is doable. You look around and we can see there is enough effort we need to put in for next 25 years. Because a lot of growth stories die down or peter away because there is nothing to invest on. But we will have a very long runway to invest on. So I would think that we are on the absolutely right track, and we should progress on this track for the foreseeable future.
So while we are very bullish on this entire digital story of India, we have recently been witnessing some negativities emerging out of this because of lack of regulation, the entire fintech industry, which has tremendous potential. But what do you think, to your mind, needs to be done so that stuff like Paytm doesn't recur in this country?
I won't talk of any companies, but let me put it in the regulatory context, because we have grown through regulation, at least in my career, over 50, 52 years, but at least last 30 years I have seen it at close quarters. I think the regulator knows the pulse. The regulator has got everything that needs to be regulated out there and is on top of the situation. Now, if we have slipped as a company, it is the regulator who will point out to us that you have slipped and corrective action has to be taken. And this is true anywhere in the world. We are no different in terms of regulatory action. So if digital businesses find that they probably have not met the expectation of the regulator, it is for them to correct, not for the regulator to ease regulation, because regulation is out there for a good purpose and we will have to meet it. And I think business people are smart. They will very quickly course correct, read the regulator and do what is right for their companies and for the nation. Banks have done it for all these years. So I don't think there is anything lacking in regulation. Regulation is in sync with what is happening around the world. And I think we will course correct where required.
But is there a sort of pressure on the existing banking system because of the fintechs to digitalize very fast? Because a lot of funds are being exhausted by the banks also to take to the digital route very fast.
Indeed, indeed there is pressure. In fact, if I were a CEO of a bank today, I would be scared. I would be scared at the pace of change that is happening. Let's not make it into a long this one. Let's take just one piece. Banks made their money on what we called payment transactions. Because in the payment transaction, you had a float. The float, you didn't pay interest. And that was a large part of what you lent, and that earned you returns. So that float has virtually vanished. Because with the UPI and the payment systems that we have today, it is straight through. So the bank doesn't have a float. So there is disruption in one key area of banking. And of course, then you will look out for what are the other key areas. For example, just one more area, lending. Lending to the retail public. Again, what the Honorable Minister put out earlier today, just 2 sessions back, where he said that common street vendor now gets funding, all through a digital platform. So again, the retail side of the business is, I would think today, in the hands of digital players. So if the banks don't correct on these two, one, you don't correct on your payment architecture, and B, you don't correct on your retail lending architecture, you are then left with possibly only the corporate. But the corporate also is going to go to the capital market. So banks could be under threat unless they reinvent themselves. But I'm sure they will.